Hi guys, this is Taylor, and hi new subscribers! The super wonderful Vivian from Lamp Sunnies was so kind as to feature me in a shout out video, and so many of you guys came over from that video, so hi! I've never officially talked about or ranked my favorite books of all time, so I figured that would serve as a nice little introduction. Goodreads says that I've marked 10 books as favorites, so what a nice even little number. I've put them in ranked order and I'm gonna count down to number 1. And of course, since these are my favorite books, I have talked about these before, some of them too much already, so I'll try and keep this short and sweet, and I will put links to videos where I talk about some of these in a little more detail in the description. So, at number 10, I put Lisa C's Snowflower and the Secret Fan. This takes place in 19th century China and follows our main character Lily, who is chosen to be paired with something called a Lao Tong, or Old Same. This is supposed to be her female BFF, basically, and in the book it says that they're supposed to be like two swans mated for life. And honestly, writing aside, characters aside, it's that concept that makes this book a favorite for me. It explores the idea of an incredibly close, intimate relationship that is not romantic, but that does examine the boundaries, or lack thereof, of Platonicism, and you just do not see that in literature ever. At number 9, I have Things Not Seen by Andrew Clements, and I just talked a bunch about this. So sorry. This was my favorite book ever in middle school, and I'm still very fond of it. This is middle grade-y YA that follows our main character Bobby, who wakes up invisible one morning and has to figure out where to go from there. Can he tell his friends? Can he even tell his parents? What would be the real world repercussions of waking up invisible one morning? And I think that's mainly what I love about this, is that it's so realistic despite the main character being invisible. I loved this. All of my friends in middle school loved this. It's super duper fun. At number 8, I put My Side of the Mountain by Jean Craighead George. This is a children's novel written in the 50s about a boy who becomes tired of living with his family in this tiny apartment and decides, I'm out of here, and goes to live by himself in the forests of upstate New York. So not very realistic, but incredibly cozy and light and charming. If you are open to reading children's literature as an adult, I cannot push this on you any harder. This book makes the world a little bit magical. At number 7, I put Sailor Moon by Naoko Takeuchi, specifically the first and last volumes. I have made it plain my feelings about Sailor Moon. It's an integral part of my life. Reading the first volume was one of my first human memories, and it's been with me ever since. The art is beautiful. In my opinion, it's unparalleled by any other manga. The characters are wonderful and nuanced, and these volumes in particular just fill me with an immense sense of joy. For number 6, I put Katrina Vandenberg's Atlas. This is a poetry collection, and it definitely had a hand in teaching me that poetry is just as valid and powerful as any other form of writing. This follows a handful of narratives, but focuses on the Dutch famine that they called the Hunger Winter, and reading about it in such a lyrical way is just fascinating, but it somehow renders this famine just brutally. I think about this poetry collection and my heart just seizes up. At number 5, I put The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is one of only a handful of books that I can say that I revere in the highest sense. Unfortunately, it's also one of the hardest books to talk about for me, because I find it so difficult to articulate exactly what makes this so special to me. It kind of cast a spell over me, like an awful, honest, unsettling spell. The writing style is almost otherworldly. It's so rich and powerful. I just can't with this one. At number 4, I put George Saunders' Pastoralia. This is my favorite short story collection. I read it when I was 14 or 15, and at the time I had never read anything like it before. This really opened me up to the world of short stories, of satire, of utterly bizarre, not sure what's going on but it's okay. I have a print of Mickey from The Barber's Unhappiness on my wall. That's how much I love this short story collection. Number 3 is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. This was one of, if not the first, adult fiction book I read. which probably has something to do with why I feel the way I feel about it. But I still feel like this is Vonnegut at his very best. The satire is biting, the commentary is pointed, the storyline is awful and beautiful. I mean, in this book, he created a religion that real-life people follow non-ironically to this day, and I think that speaks to the level of insight that he's capable of, and also the amount of heart that he is vulnerable enough to show. At number 2, my second favorite book of all time, I have Everything is Illuminated by my good friend Jonathan Safran Foer, or JSF. I just talked about this in my February wrap-up, but I feel like JSF is one of the most polarizing figures in modern literature. You either love him or hate him. But that aside, I can honestly say that I have never read anything quite like Everything is Illuminated before, and I probably never will. I read this when I was 17, and it single-handedly changed the way that I thought about the reading experience. This taught me that reading and storytelling is not always straightforward, and a big intentional part of the process can be putting the puzzle pieces together and having your own personal interpretation of the text as a reader. I feel like I will always be a little bit indebted to this book. So now we're down to number 1, my favorite book of all time. And if you know me really well, you will have noticed that I usually cite either Cat's Cradle or Everything is Illuminated as my favorite book. But I've cited those already, and we still have our number 1 spot. And you might be able to guess where I'm going with this. I've been doing some thinking, and I think that Kafka on the Shore might be my favorite book. Maybe. The thing is, I think about Kafka every day. I read this in September 2015, and I have thought about this daily since then. I feel like this story and the experience of this book is incapable of leaving me. Just to cover my bases, this is about a 15-year-old boy who runs away from his home in Tokyo and starts to have some strange, concerning experiences. It is simultaneously about an older man who is like magic. It always falls apart when I try and explain this book. Also, an interesting thing about Kafka being my favorite book is that usually with your favorite book, it's not like you don't find any problems with it, but you can't picture anyone hating your favorite book. And I can picture many people loathing Kafka on the Shore, and I can see why. I just happen to love it. Anyway, those are my favorite books. Thank you, new subscribers. Thank you, old subscribers. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye!